What's good, brother? How you doing?
Not bad. Hey, what's going on?
All right, can you hear me?
Yeah. I can hear you. Let me
All right.
take this music off. Hold on.
What'd you say again, brother? You say you're doing all right?
Yeah. I'm doing okay. Just hold on 1 second.
Yeah.
Oof. So what's the good word, man? Dramatic,
Man.
It's a funny 48 hours, man. It's a pretty silly 48 hours.
It's been a silly 48 hours. It's been a wild 48 hours. My damn phone just stopped buzzing, man, about 3 hours ago, and it still get occasional shots, man. It's been nuts, man. About 1 million people interacted with that tweet.
Wait. So when you got phone calls, was any of the phone calls like Torraine? What kind of craziness are you saying, or was it mostly just support? Because I mean, it really wasn't a crazy thing at all. It was a very
Yeah.
it was a controversial.
1 second, brother. Are you coming through clear? Am I coming through clear on your end? Because it sounds like I'm getting some static from you real quick. It might be
you're getting static from me?
Either static or it's like I don't know. It sounds like it's clipping or something. Maybe that's me. Hold on. Let me drop the light.
Let me check my mic. I might have to put it down. But in the meantime, people in the room, let me know how I sound. I can put the input down here. Test.
Yeah.
Does it sound better?
Yeah.
I think mine might have been too high. So I put my input down a little bit. Hey, how's everybody doing? Okay. This was supposed to be behind the scenes. I meant to start it behind the scenes, and I started it live by accident. I wanted to get everybody here, but now that we already started, I can't just go back off air. So we'll just keep it going. Yeah, man. But what were you saying? What was the last thing you were saying?
Oh, no, I was just saying that it's been a while, 48 hours, like you said. I've gotten a lot of support, but I've also the hate is pretty obvious, you know. A lot of projection, a lot of people taking their personal stories and projecting it onto what I said. But you know, it is what it is, and I just been rolling with it. I haven't had anything over the top crazy, but it's been crazy.
You know, some people were saying stuff like calling you out your name, saying some really crazy stuff. But what was nuts to me was that, and we're gonna give background soon for people who don't know. We're gonna give background soon, so we're not just gonna keep talking. In fact, let me pull up the tweet while we're talking. But like, people are calling you out by name, like you were just talking about let's set women on fire in the street. Like it was like if somebody didn't know what you tweeted and we're just going by what people were saying that you were doing, they would have thought you were like on some crazy incel stuff. But when I pull it up, tell people what you actually tweeted. Like give people like the full background story from the beginning. Like I mean, when I read it, I was like, "Oh, that's a good tweet." You know, I'm glad he said it, but I didn't think twice about it. It seemed like common sense. And throughout the day, I just kept checking back in, and I was like, "Wow." So yeah, if you just tell people.
Okay. Well, Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm not quite sure. One of those mornings, I tweeted that you can't be pro-black and hate straight black men. The reason I tweeted that was because if you spend any time on social media or if you spend any time, especially on Twitter, it seems like the baseline of most people's social justice work when it comes to the Black community is demonizing Black men, specifically straight Black men. So I just put that tweet out to say that, straight Black men are a part of the community as well. I didn't attack anybody's identity. I didn't attack anybody's orientation, but just me saying that set everybody off. Not everybody, but a lot of the gatekeepers and a lot of the people who are in charge, quote unquote, of social justice work on social media just lost it because I said that. It was crazy.
One thing they kept saying was they found something homophobic in what you were saying, but this is how you know that it was out there. Even a lot of white people, when I tweeted, a lot of white people were like, I don't get it. Like, what? What's so bad about that? And usually, as in like, they're asking me to explain, like, is there an inside joke or something? And I was like, no, I mean, it means what it means. But people were kind of saying, like, you said, I'm gonna put the tweet up now. You put up, you can't be pro-Black and hate straight Black men. So that's 9 words, nothing inflammatory. And then people were coming like, they maybe stop killing everybody. They're just saying like this off the wall things, or they're saying something like, so you're saying gay Black men don't deserve to be a part of the move. Like they were just, like you said, projecting, putting all this stuff out there. And if you look at the quote tweets, I'm gonna put some of the quote tweets up. They should be on. So people are coming like, you can't come up with your own slogans, which has nothing to do with anything, even if it was true. What does that have to do with anything? People like, you can't be pro-Black and be homophobic or transphobic either, which what they don't realize they're doing there is they're all lives mattering right there. Like what they're doing right there is like when people say, hey, Black lives matter. Well, hey, all lives matter. Like when you said you can't hate straight Black men and call yourself pro-Black, that doesn't mean that you're leaving out gay people or Black women. Like none of that means that like I don't know how saying you can't be pro-Black and hate straight Black men somehow means, well, you can hate gay Black people and be pro-Black, or you can hate Black women and be pro-Black. But somehow people took what you were saying to imply that, the same way people take Black Lives Matter to imply, are you saying white lives don't matter? Like your tweet was getting all lives matter out the wazoo. Hey Ken, what's going on?
What's up, y'all? Can y'all hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah.
What's up, Torraine?
What's good, bro?
What's popping? How you doing?
I'm good, my man. How about yourself?
Man, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad you're here. I just jumped in, and I know y'all just started, so I probably didn't miss too much. But I looked.
We just started.
Yeah, when I saw you posted that tweet, I already knew because I've followed Torraine from my old accounts that's been banned 30 times, so I already knew what was going to happen. The thing about it is, T, you just said it. They started all lives matter in the tweet, and really. And I don't have to tell you guys this, but we know that ain't even what it's about with these people, man. We're talking about people that have severe issues. And I always say this because I can be kind of an asshole sometimes. Look at these people. No, I'm serious. Look at these people's account when they're not talking about that, and it'll tell you all you need to know about these kind of people. You know what I'm saying? It don't have anything to do with me. It don't. Look, all of us are Black men here. Coincidentally, all of us are bald too. That's another topic for another show. But
I seen before coming in. Shout out to Bevel.
right here. You know what I'm saying? We need a Bevel sponsor for real. But just saying, like, you know, we've seen these people say a lot of wild stuff about themselves, not just about Black men, but they even say wild stuff about themselves. I've seen some of these people making these tweets about gutter sex with white men, crazy stuff. So I always have to consider the source of the people. Now, if you want to have an official conversation, which none of them did, if you want to have a conversation about what Torraine said, that's one thing. But if you just want to just quote tweet it and talk trash, and I can talk bad about Black men all I want, and bullet bags this, and you making yourself look crazy. You know what I'm saying? You look crazy. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they understand that.
You know what's really weird about that, right? Was I knew there was always going to be some people who were going to go a little extra with it, but
Oh yeah,
I was surprised. This is the part that surprised me, and you would think nothing would surprise me. What surprised me was the amount of like actual like blue check people, like people who work for like PBS Newshour, people who
Yeah.
freelance write for all these magazines, people who write for Slate. We're just coming out and saying the hell I can't hate black men. And I was like,
but
whoa, like
T, we knew
yeah.
that too. We knew that already because you gotta remember this goes for people that don't. So there's a lot of new people to Twitter since like 2017, 2018. Let's go all the way back. Let's go back to 2015 Twitter, 2016 Twitter. These people they existed. They just had a different talking point.
Yeah.
And they were begging for those jobs. Remember when Barack Obama was in office, these people was begging for those jobs. It was almost like a rite of passage to get a job working for whatever fake black, magazine that exists out there, whether it be Essence, Ebony, especially Ebony. Remember, Ebony had it real bad, and then a lot of those fake black feminists started coming out
when
later, getting with Jamila Lemieux and all of them.
When Jamila Lemieux was there, she was handing out the freelance writing gigs. Like everyone was wetting their beak. It was the opposite. They weren't begging for jobs. They felt entitled to them almost.
They felt entitled. They felt entitled to those jobs. And remember what happened in the end when they all got screwed? They all started whining about not getting paid and all that. And the thing about it is, we all said the same thing. Well, fuck, what the fuck made you thought you were going to get paid? You know what I'm saying? They weren't going to pay you. They're going to pay you for think pieces. But it's not how it works.
Well, it was hot. I can speak to that a little bit because I got onto social media right around the time that, Ferguson exploded and Mike Brown. And at the time I was freelancing for Huffington Post. I was doing, and pretty much every piece I was filing was, either from like Baltimore or Ferguson or Baton Rouge. So hey, for lack of a better term, police brutality and social justice was starting to come into fruition with like Black Lives Matter. People, all these marches started going into the public consciousness. So that was a hot beat at the time. What happened was that happened around about the mid-range of Obama's second term.
Yeah.
So there was like a really big market for like social justice and activism. If you led one or two marches, you could get on TV. If you were like passionate enough, you could get a writing gig and that sort of stuff. What happened goes to what you were saying. The second that Obama left office, all those jobs dried up.
They all dried up, yeah.
Melissa Harris Perry, Roland Martin, all the people who used to be prominent on like cable news were out of there. And a lot of people who came out of college at that time, who were just starting to get their feet wet in like journalism and, blogging, social media, they were kind of left out to dry. But you had this huge movement here. Mm-hmm. But the people who were hiring didn't really know how to address that movement because most of them were not Black, or if they were Black, they were not connected to the culture. So they had to rely on these people to, tell them what was going on. And right about the same time that was happening is when sort of like you saw the burgeoning Me Too movement. So you had a lot of frustrated writers who may not be connected to the culture, but they want to work. And what they'll do is they will basically, it changed from a model to like pitching bylines and pitching stories to people to being handed stories from outlets to write about. And what they were writing about was like assault and Me Too and that sort of thing, which was a valid statement. But a lot of that was tied into like a lot of things that were coming out of the university, which were explicitly anti-Black male. So you just had a perfect storm.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that's something that even Dr. Tommy Curry talked about. And this is something that we've talked about on this podcast for a long time. And we joke about it a lot. And I know me and T is the one that first said, he's like, man, these people's first Black experience was getting on the HBCU campus. Like, they don't know any Black people. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I used to be one of those people that was a really big believer in, HBCUs over predominantly white institutions and stuff, as far as like keeping people from being lost. And I was telling Ken, the biggest thing that social media taught me and looking at freelance writers' bios, because some of the worst bios, a lot of the worst people, you look at their bios and they were people who went to HBCUs. Yeah. But what I did notice is when you read the life story, they always say, I discovered my Blackness at an HBCU. And what I was telling Ken was like, my personal rule of thumb now is if you have not had an authentic Black experience or felt comfortable in your skin by high school, it's almost like too late. Like you can't. Yeah, it's like trying to learn to like become a really good baller at in college. Like, like you can't start then. It's too late. Like it's
the whole saying, it's got to be in you. It can't be on you. You can't wear the Black experience. And that's what a lot of these people do. And like I said, if you pay attention to them, they'll start telling you things about themselves. So they'll start telling you about their families. They'll start telling you about where they come from. They'll start telling stories about how I was the only Black kid in my school and all this other kind of stuff. They get to the HBCU, they get the Black experience. And this is the thing. A lot of people think I be shitting on HBCUs. I don't. You know what I'm saying? I think HBCUs are definitely beneficial. I just don't like the way that they're treated, as the way they distribute their funds and the way the funds are just mismanaged majority of the time. It has nothing to do with the education and the academia. But now in this age, I live in Portland, Oregon, and T knows I've talked a lot about. I went to Portland State University, and I seen all this shit happen in 2011. Erasing Black men out of academia, erasing Black men out of the Black Studies department. I've seen it since 2011, where I saw the chair of the Black Studies department, Dr. Daryl Milner, retired, and they were willing to sue the school if they didn't hire a Black woman to be the chair, which is not a problem. And I was a grad student at the time. They bring me and other grad students in. Hey, we want you guys to sit in on these interviews. We want to hear what you guys are thinking. And then it wasn't just me, it was Black women, Black men, all kinds of, we knew who the person was that should have got the position, but they didn't want to hire this man because he was a Black man. So they hired this Black woman from Canada who had a background in, I think it was conflict resolution. And to this day, right now, the Black Studies department pretty much does not exist at Portland State University. And it's one of the only universities where you can get a Black Studies degree. I think Portland State, Cal Berkeley, there's only like about 10 or 15 universities where you can actually get a Black Studies degree. So they pretty much crashed the Black Studies department for representation. And I told T this a couple of days ago. There was a dude on that campus that was a quote unquote Sephardic Jew, changed his name to something Latino, and he's teaching in the Black Studies department as this Cuban person, fake Cuban person. So all the stuff that's been going on, I've seen this and going on in Portland. And a
lot of them are coming. It's like turning on the lights and all the roaches are scrambling. A lot of them are.
When we found out about this dude, and he straight up told us that he's a Sephardic Jew. He changed his name to something Hispanic. He has his wife's last name. And I looked at some of the admin like, yo, y'all don't see. And they was looking at me like, well, he's on our side, so don't trip. And I was like, let me hear.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
They just caught two more people. Some woman just got caught somewhere on either the Midwest or maybe on the West Coast, who got exposed. This is right after the woman who just got busted a couple of weeks ago, man. So it's like that's a trend that's happening.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and some people I know in academia were tweeting like when Jessica Krug came out, some people in academia I know who I follow, they were like, we can't name names because of libel and stuff like that, but there's like 3 or 4 other people who we think are gonna hit the fan soon. And keep your eyes open. And I was like, really? And then sure enough, 2 names came out, and one of them was this woman who was Italian. One of the people I follow tweeted that was one of them. So like people kind of knew. One was somebody who was Italian, and what's interesting that a lot of these people have in common is that they change ethnicities in plain sight. Like they didn't, like, at least it seems like Rachel Dolezal kind of before she got to grad school fully did her change, whereas some of these people were already in grad school or publishing and did the change in like in the public eye. Like Jessica Krug went from North African to African American to Caribbean to Afro Latina, all while in I think already in grad school. So
yeah.
And then the question becomes, who allowed that? Who?
Yep.
Clearly, that didn't happen in a vacuum. So if people saw this happening, who allowed that to happen? Who allowed that to go on?
That's exactly what I said. I tweeted it. I said, wait a minute. Everybody is, like you said, T, when the lights come on, the roaches are scattering. But how come you guys didn't make all these claims and have all this anger when she got hired? She's tenured at George Washington University. You don't just get tenured. You know how hard it is to get tenured?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So when all of this was going on right now, and they started with the colorism, and they started with the blaming black men for this stuff, why didn't you guys blame black men when she got hired? Why didn't you blame colorism when she got hired? The reason why is because you didn't care, as long as it's not black men in those positions.
Yeah. What Ken said was true, but he was saying how if it was colorism, show me Ken said this, that show me the complaints of colorism for all the years that she was thriving, where someone said, hey, there's a dark-skinned person who's better qualified for this job, or there's this and that, but no one said anything on record. And I put this up on the screen. Someone said y'all off topic, but this is not off topic because this is the climate that this happens in. Like, it's not a coincidence that these Jessica Kruggs and all these other types are able to thrive in the same environment where just saying straight black men, it shouldn't be acceptable to hate them and call yourself pro-black is considered like sacrilege. Like, this is not off topic. Like, before you jump to say something is off topic, like I would tell people, ask yourself before you say that, how is this on topic? Because a lot of times it'll be on topic in a way that you don't see. And the way to me that it's on topic is not about colorism. It's the climate now is so anti straight black male in academia and media. They would rather put on these clearly white women who just claim that they're black.
But they won't admit it because they know how crazy it looks. They know how crazy
I'll tell you what, if you want to try to tie it together to kind of give everybody a background as to why that is, once you put your tweet up, I'll get into some backstory of why that situation is the way it is, and then we can go from there.
Okay, cool. So putting the tweet up, which tweet, the one that you were talking about, that you put up, or by the way, Ken, Torraine, also I believe you have the option to share your screen. Can guests share the screen too? Ken?
I think so. Yeah, I believe
so.
So.
So if you look in the bottom, there should be something that says share screen at the bottom. So like if you want to share something, let me know if it shows for you. Does it show on the bottom? Something that says
I see it,
yeah. So if you have any tweets yourself that you feel like sharing. Oh, by the way, thanks Tron for sharing the donation. Much appreciated. Oh yeah, but which tweet were you talking about? Because I might have it up already.
I don't know. You mentioned something about you were getting ready to put a tweet up, but I didn't know what it was.
Actually, yeah. Let me put the tweet up. I did have one up. This one was a very particular one I wanted to put up because it really got on my nerves. Right here, this woman, Stephanie Yaboa, in England. She's on this influencer in England. She does body positivity, dark-skinned women, kind of sexual racism, sexual anti-sizeism and stuff. And she goes, you can be pro-black. She said in response to your tweet, you said you can't be pro-black and hate straight black men. And she put, you can be pro-black and address the ways in which misogynoir is committed against black women by some black men. You can be pro-black and hold straight black men accountable for the fuckeries they impart on women. And this is a perfect example of hit dogs hollering. Because Absolutely. Where did you say in that original tweet that you can't be pro-black and discuss misogynoir committed against black women by some black men? Where in the tweet did you say you can't be pro-black and hold straight black men accountable? The only way that you can make this logical jump that she's making is if you equate doing those things with hating straight black men. You know, she's kind of telling on herself because, for example, a lot of that. Yeah, because for example, if somebody said, you can't be pro-black and hate straight black women, I wouldn't bring up, oh, so you're saying that we can't bring up when black mothers abuse black boys? Like, I want to bring up that stuff because
the whataboutism.
Yeah, they're not the same thing. They're not the same thing. What does hating black women have to do with holding black women accountable, certain black women accountable for certain things? Like, to me, I'm not the kind of person that makes a logical jump that holding black women accountable, certain black women accountable for certain things is the same as hating them. Like, for you to see to me, if I saw someone say you can't be pro-black and hate straight black women, I'd be like, hell yeah, because I don't view myself as someone that hates straight black women. Like it's not even.
Well, it's like you said, these people are really telling on themselves because they feel like even acknowledging straight black men. And if you look at the tweet, I didn't mention any other group. I didn't mention anybody's orientation.
Yeah.
I didn't marginalize anybody. I just said you can't be pro-black and hate straight black men. For some people, just even mentioning straight black men is an insult or it's an attack. But to get back to what we were talking about before,
it's a zero-sum game. I just want to say that's what it is. Somehow it's a fight for a spotlight, and bringing them up is somehow an attack or ignoring of them.
Yeah. But to get back what you were saying about the academy and media, you have to go back a little bit further, and you have to go back to the tail end of the 60s to the beginning of the 70s. There were always in Black civil rights struggles, there were different people with different agendas and people who had different ideas on how to get liberation. But at the core of all that was Black liberation, whether you were in the integration, whether you were a separatist, whether you were a revolutionary, Blackness and the Black collective was the core of that. Once the leaders started getting taken out, like Fred Hampton and Martin and Malcolm and people like that, and when the Panthers got destabilized, what happened was a lot of people who were involved in those movements either dispersed or they started moving into either politics or academia. When they moved into academia, the majority of the movement that was outside of the student movements was basically whiteness and feminism, or feminism, which was led by white women. To survive in that atmosphere, you had to align whatever your agenda was with feminism, which was led by white feminism. What ended up happening was the goal kind of shifted away from liberation into assimilation, pretty much, where if you're Black, you can't just be Black and you can't just work for Black liberation. It has to be, Black liberation has to be tied to gender issues, and it has to be tied to immigrant issues, or it has to be tied to white feminist issues, which is not bad, but every other group that you had to ally yourself to did not lose their identity. Blackness did. So what happened was the people who thrived in those atmospheres had to basically surrender their Blackness or surrender their radicalism and tie it to something else, either like white moderates or white liberals, or in some cases, white conservatives. And what that did was it began to separate Black men from Black women, and it began to fragment, which was at one point a unified structure to try to like get Black liberation in all these different movements. Then you tie that into the birth of fourth wave, well, it was third wave feminism at the time, which became fourth wave feminism, which is what we're dealing with now, where it became this thing where like all men are privileged and Black men are not exempt from that, even though Black men are at the bottom of every socioeconomic metric in this country. And that's what we're dealing with right now. It's like a really short thumbnail sketch. It's not really crazy in depth, but that's really what you're dealing with. You're dealing with Black people who have thrived in the academy and thrived in media, but they've been indoctrinated with this idea that if you are Black and you're a male, then you are you're an oppressor. And that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah, that's a really good background. That's very like to the point. But you know, the thing, it's even getting into the fiction now. Like I don't want to go too far off topic, but even in the fiction now, like I was watching Lovecraft Country, and several points in the narrative throughout the series, they were bringing up things about how the Black man was privileged versus the white woman in certain ways, you know, and this is kind of like ideological purity test that happens now, where the only really pure oppression that exists is queer Black women, kind of, you know, then Black women, and then, you know, Black men and white women and everyone else is kind of on the same level, and then the top is white men. But somehow, even though everyone acknowledges that white men are at the top, white men get the least heat right now for whatever reason. I don't know why. Like they
well, that's just how I told someone this long time ago, man. I was like, man, they ain't never gonna throw stones at the throne, because at the end of the day, they always go home. We learned that with the 2016 election. All those white women that kept on saying that they were gonna not vote for Trump, they did. And at the end of the day, I mean, they don't really. I'm not gonna say all of them, but a lot of them really don't care about that kind of stuff, because when they see that type of fuckery from white men, that's their uncle, that's their brother. You know what I mean? They just look at it. That's just the way it is. They don't really see the way that affects Black people. They don't see the way that affects specifically black men. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like when we talk about police brutality and people try to argue about how, oh, we need to talk about black women who get harmed by the police. We're not saying you don't. We're just saying that we see it so much with black men. That's why we always get put in the center of this, because it happens so often to black men. So it's one of those things where it's like you have to. I always look at who the person is that's saying whatever it is that they're saying and make sure that they're making sense. Because like you guys said, with all those different waves of feminism and where we're at today with the elimination of the Panthers, with the elimination of all the civil rights leaders, you know what I'm saying? It's not a coincidence that we are where we are. You know what I'm saying? We're here right here where we are on purpose. This is not by accident. You know what I'm saying? It was designed this way to be this way, especially in academia. You know what I'm saying? It was designed to be this way. Look, they've done so much to get black men out of academia, unless you're gonna parrot these talking points. And even black women, if black women ain't gonna parrot those talking points, you ain't gonna be in academia.
It's true.
Sorry, go ahead.
Something else with colorism too. Like when anyone keeps bringing up colorism and all these things, I went to the department that Jessica Krug was in. I did it on a previous stream, and there were about 2 or 3 other black women in there, all of them darker than her, and there's only one black man, and that black man I think was there to fill a conservative token point because he was conservative, but there were no like pro-black radical black men in there. And I was saying this is not really about colorism or anything. This is basically, it's black men are so straight black men are kind of so verboten in those circles that they're scraping the bottom to fill black women in the quota. But what I find really interesting is straight black men right now get more grief for being white men than white men actually do.
White men, right?
Yeah, I see. I've seen more tweets and more discussion about straight black men abusing white male privilege than actual white men doing it. And by the way, hello to Vita. Vita's here. I was looking for a right time to introduce you in. Say hello. The chat gets excited when Vita goes in. Like they get upset that we haven't introduced her yet. They're all like, Vita.
I was just texting a minute ago, like, man, where are you at?
Man, I just got home from work. I had to rush and get myself together.
LA traffic.
So Vita, you're gonna get called a pick me for coming on this panel.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I already know. They call me a pick me all the time. I just look at my mentions and it's just pick me. I'm either a pick me or what is the other one they be calling me? Or I just want thugs.
Oh yeah, you want thugs. Yeah, that's right.
The divestors.
And it's wild how it's always the pro-black women who say they're for black women that give black women the most insults.
Yeah, they call me mammy, mule. I'm gonna learn.
I was gonna tell you a good troll that you should have done was the WNBA star who married the guy who was in jail, who's wrongly convicted.
Maya Moore.
Yeah, Maya Moore. I was like, Vita should tweet. I've always said jail is the best place to find a man. Just to get your haters, to get the incels.
Oh my God.
The incels. And today the military people are upset at Vita, but we'll talk about that later. We'll stay on topic.
But you know what's interesting about so I saw Torraine's tweet and I thought, I honestly, it was one of those things that I kind of thought was like water is wet. So I didn't think anything of it. And then next thing I know, there's all these arguments on my timeline. So I just it was tripping me out. But the thing about social media and most of these topics, most of the people that are calling it out don't actually give a fuck about it at all. Because think about it. That sentence means it's kind of nothing. Like, who gives a fuck? If you really, really think about it, it shouldn't cause that much dissension, right? It shouldn't cause that much controversy. But people like things that help them build up their brand. So if I want to build up my brand, I got to go in and act like I give a fuck about some shit that's not even that, to me, that is very water is wet. It's like you want to look for things to be upset about. And I think that's what people do so they can build their brand of being the person that calls out whoever,
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of that, but I was actually kind of surprised it got as big as it did. But yeah, there were definitely a lot of people who were trying to take what I said and use it to build a soapbox when I said nothing of the kind. And I kind of went in and I checked a few people and they kind of went away, but then they just did their thing. But, people are going to do what they do on something.
Oh, by the way, big shout out to Torraine Reloaded in the chat. He's been a previous guest on the show. He's got a great YouTube channel too, if you haven't checked it out yet. But he's always talking about this kind of stuff too. But what I find interesting, right, was in this tweet I have up. I'm going to take it down for a second, but it was funny how when you said one thing, you said hate straight black men. You didn't say anything like you didn't give an example of somebody holding someone accountable. It didn't say this is my idea of hate or anything. You just said hate black men, and people kept responding with other things. And so you said hate black men, and people are saying, "Oh, so they're saying that we can't hold them accountable for beating black women?" And it's like, wait. So what they're kind of really showing is that to them, by hearing hate black men and responding with all these other things that are clearly wrong, that kind of shows that in your mind, you think that hating them is holding them accountable, like
exactly.
that they're interchangeable to you, that you hold them accountable by hating them.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So they didn't deny that they hate black men. What they said is that what they implied basically is hating black men is our way of holding them accountable. But that's incel logic. That's what incels do. Incels will take some things, and some things that incels say,
they're one and the same. They're one and the same.
They're one and the same. But some things that incels say have a germ of truth to them. Like, for example, the family courts. It is true that family courts are very biased in favor of women. But what they do is they take that as a reason to hate all women or to blame women when they're two different things. You can say that the family court has a bias against men without using that as a reason to hate women, and most people kind of see that, but they find holding black men accountable for valid things that black men might do interchangeable with hating them. But somehow people don't see the fallacy in that situation.
But I want to
say, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Sorry.
I was going to say, but I don't see how you can have this idea that you are pro-black and there's an entire segment of your people that you hate. Like that doesn't measure up, especially if you consider the fact that you have sons and brothers, and like it just doesn't logically add up. You can't sit up there and say you're pro-black and say you hate straight black men, and then to the same token say you're out here marching in the streets for them.
Hey, Vita, did you see when some people were even saying, and this one, I don't know if they were trolling or serious, but they seemed dead serious. They were saying, can't? It's a requirement. Some people were saying it's actually a requirement of being pro-black to hate.
Yeah, they're trolling.
That doesn't even make sense. Because when you hold people accountable, that's supposed to be your family. It's supposed to come from love. If these are my family, these are my people, and it's about really honestly holding people accountable, then it's supposed to come from love. If you don't consider them your people, then I don't understand how you think you're pro-black.
You want to know something that I want to bring up about that woman, right? Stephanie Yabao. Oh, by the way, everyone who's enjoying this, share this. Go on Twitter, retweet it. If you're on Twitch, host it on your stream or share it on any of social media, because we want to get a lot of people up in here talking about this for sure. So definitely do that. But check this out. This is who that woman was, right? I remember her name. I found out the guy I was dating did it for a dare. Here's what happened.
I read this. Oh my God.
Stephanie,
what is this now?
I'm gonna get to that. A lot of people did not remember who this woman was, but I remember this
crazy.
woman.
It's some bullshit.
Yeah. Now, part of me wonders if it's true.
I'm sorry.
Be good. I'm gonna try to not read the whole thing and bore people.
I just want to say I hate Kenny.
Yeah.
I really hate him.
Here we go. I'd been talking to Robert, name change, for a couple of weeks via Bumble and then WhatsApp, and all seemed to be going well. Since the end of my last relationship, I'd been a bit wary of the opposite sex and had gone into every new dating app chat with a degree of skepticism, especially as I am plus size. More on this later. However, Robert seemed different. He was funny, very intelligent, open-minded, and ambitious, and more importantly, accepted and preferred the fact that I am plus sized. Let me jump ahead. Date with night with Robert finally came around, and I was practically bursting into flames with excitement. We agreed to meet in Clapham in Southwest London for a couple of drinks. I arrived at the venue early and tweeted a cute picture of myself. Blah blah blah. Let me just. These people write very long-winded. Okay, here we go. A week later, in hours of speaking on the phone and texting throughout the night, we decided that he'd come over to my flat and we'd watch a few shows while I cooked. Obviously, one thing led to another, and we ended up sleeping together. That's the last I heard from him. Cue to this week when I received an email from a friend of his. Apparently, Robert had shown my blog to his friends for quote-unquote approval. This friend tells me that in the interest of full transparency, he thought that he should let me know that the reason I had not heard from Robert since our second date was because he had been there to quote-unquote pull a fat chick. And upon completing the dare, had won a sum of money his friends had pooled. So apparently this is some kind of trend. I don't know if this is true, but in articles they're claiming it's called pull a pig or pig fishing or something, where guys pick a fat girl target and then bet money that, you know, I bet you I'll have sex with her, and then they win money from a bet. I don't know if the story is even true or whatever, right? But she ended up making it to a whole cause. She went on talk shows, talked about this, appeared everywhere. And on Twitter, I'm going to wrap this up real soon. Sorry for going on. On Twitter, people kind of said, hey, was this a white guy? Because she's always tweeting about white guys and not liking black guys. And someone said, and she's like, I don't know why that's relevant. And people are like, what do you mean why it's not relevant? You're always talking about how black men mistreat you. And you're always talking about how black men don't give you the time of day. And then she went on a rant defending white men and tearing down black men and saying how, in a way, black men are responsible for ruining the image of black women, or that black men always treated bad and hold accountable. And then a lot of people, including black women, were like, wait, how does a bunch of white guys do this to you? And somehow this turns into holding straight black men accountable. Right. And I've never heard her say anything about white men ever, even after this thing that she basically made her claim into fame, whether true or not, you know, which is, and I'm like, let's say it is fake. Let's say it's not true. The fact that you'd even tell this story using white men and still publicly cape for them, like there's something deeply wrong with these people. I don't know.
You know what, though? I want to be fair. That's foul. You know, regardless of whoever did it, that's a foul situation to be in the middle of. But here's the thing about that. Whoever did that, man, needs to be dealt with. And it's really dirty to do somebody like that. But that kind of goes to the fact that a lot of people who feel the way they feel about men in general and black men in particular are dealing with some really legitimate trauma. You know, these are people who have been hurt either through family members or, you know, like on dates or through people they were close to. They are dealing with a lot of trauma, and that trauma is valid. The problem is, instead of getting some help and dealing with that trauma and trying to get justice in some way outside of yelling at people, what they do is they get on social media. They have the anonymity of social media, and they take that pain that they're dealing with from however they were abused or whatever they're dealing with, either through their body issues, and they just vomit it out on everybody, and everybody has to suffer from that. And that's what's dangerous, because a lot of the people who, I just want to finish up with this though, a lot of the people who do that, there's a lot of people who work in media and who work in academia who dealt with those issues and are dealing with that trauma, and they are pushing that, and they're pushing their pain out onto other people, and they're basically creating people who have this deep hatred of black men who have no idea what these people are dealing with, and they have dealt with those issues, but they automatically internalize that because it's coming from someone they see as an authority figure. That's dangerous.
And I had something else that it's also, this is related. It's not actually very different. This is not very different than what you're saying. It's just a slight variation of it is, like, there's this thing in psychology called displacement, which is basically your boss chews you out, but you're scared of talking back to your boss. So you come home and kick the dog. That's what I think a lot of this shit is too. Like, white men did this to her. Like, it was legitimately foul. No one's saying it's not legitimately foul, but she's not going to go on a tirade about white men because she views them as a status symbol or the people who give her work, you know? So she when it comes to white men, she's gonna keep it as an individual thing, you know. But somehow I feel like a lot of that rage that she's saying to black men aren't really to black men. Really, it's kind of like displaced rage that is kind of aimed at people that she feels are unsafe to come at.
Well, I want to so I know your point is to focus on the race aspect, but just on the story itself, the thing that really pisses me off are these black women movements about how everybody hates us. You know, as a person, I was morbidly obese. I talk about my story all the time. I was 120 pounds heavier than what I am now, right? And I know what that feels. I know what that feels like to have men humiliate you. Like, that's a real thing. That's not something that people make up. I can tell you story after story of men, boys and men, pretty much from middle school all the way up to my adulthood, of men and boys just saying and doing some horrific things. So I understand the kind of pain and trauma she experienced, and how traumatic something like that could also be. My issue is when we internalize that, and it's kind of like to what Torraine was saying, instead of getting the help that we need, and it becomes this thing where it's like a movement of how everybody hates us. Because the reality is this: when I changed my own outlook on myself, everything else changed. People stopped calling me ugly when I stopped calling myself ugly. Like, and that's like the realest shit I could say, you know? So I have a big problem with this movement of black women, of this, oh my God, it sucks to be dark skinned. Oh my God, it sucks to be big. Oh my God, it sucks to whatever. And then you go on Twitter and you got some nigga making a whole thread about how they love big women, women with gaps, women with pimples on their forehead, whatever, you know? And
but when people make those threads, I notice a lot of those people say that's only on Twitter. You lying clout. I know people say that.
Funny about that,
they don't believe it. They don't want to believe
how
it.
Many times? But how many people who out here is perfect? It's not only supermodels and whatnot getting into relationships. I see people of all sizes, all colors, all shapes, different hair, whatever. So that movement and that idea that, you know, we should pity ourselves and everyone else should pity us too and see us as victims really bothers me, because it's not empowering, and it doesn't actually help us do anything.
But remember, Vita, it was 3 weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago, where the incels were trying to debate me. They wanted me to come on their podcast and debate because they were talking about how they're ugly. Women have told them they're ugly. They've been called ugly their whole lives. And there's this movement that if you want to get with a woman, leave the United States and go to Brazil and all that kind of stuff. So it's one and the same. The only difference is that a lot of these, like Torraine was saying, there's a lot of these women that have internalized this pain and this trauma, which is valid. And I've always said, because we all come from the black community, even though a lot of them don't have an avenue to have this conversation, or at least they don't think they do, they're going to attack its proximity. They're going to attack the person that looks like them. First, they're going to attack the person that's in the mirror first. Then they're going to attack the person that looks just like them. You know what I mean? So if you're a black woman and you don't agree with whatever's going on in their mind, they're going to attack you for that. If you're a black man, they're going to attack you, period. Now, what's funny to me is they don't attack black men that are gay. But they attack straight black men. Now, how are you attacking straight black men? You're not gay. You're not a black woman that's gay, but you're going to attack straight black men, but you won't attack gay black men as if they don't do anything. I've seen video upon videos of gay black men whooping black women's asses in the streets.
What's weird is I've seen black women cheering on those videos too, which I found very weird.
Very weird. Very strange.
But these same kind of black women, not general black women, these same particular weirdos, like, they have a lot of grievance-based stuff that I don't think they even really like black women, because this same crowd of black women that are giving Torraine a hard time, they'll also be cheering these gay men whooping on black women's asses. So yeah, they don't even like other black women, these weirdos. Yeah, I don't know why everyone were quiet. Is everyone hearing me?
No,
okay.
No, I thought Torraine was going to jump on that.
Okay.
I think
something dropped out real quick, but I heard the last part of that.
Yeah. No. What I was saying is that what I find weird in what Kenny's story was saying is that those videos where a gay guy is whooping on a black woman's ass and is going viral, there'll be like sensible black women kind of like, why is this funny? Why is this weird? And this same type of crowd, the same type of people that were getting mad at your tweet, a lot of them, like black women, will be cheering the black woman getting her ass whooped by a gay guy, and I was telling Mario and Vita, I'm sorry, I was telling Kenny and Vita that I don't think these people even really like black women, to be honest. They have a kind of grievance against the whole black community. And and that's the same reason why they'll give Vita a lot of grief whenever she says anything that's remotely pro-black man or whatever. Like, they're so quick.
It doesn't have to be pro-black men. It'll just be some generic ass statement.
Okay. Well, she can speak to that better than I can. But like I said earlier, you know, some of the most vicious slurs and slanders I've seen against black women come from women, I assume, who call themselves pro-black. But if a black woman doesn't go along with whatever they're saying, she automatically becomes a pick-me, or things that are 10 times worse. I saw a tweet this a couple hours ago where a young woman said that she's tired of seeing black men. She didn't even specify how they identify. She just said she was tired of seeing black men get slandered. And women, I'm assuming, were just calling her everything but a child of God, man. It was crazy. And you see that a lot. And I don't understand how...
We see with Vita all the time.
Even if you take black men out of the equation, how can you say that you're pro-black and you're attacking black women? You know what I mean? That doesn't make sense to me. These are people with some really serious, deep-seated issues who they need to seriously get help for, but either they won't do it or they don't have the resources, so it all comes out on social media, and then it just makes life miserable for everybody.
Well, and that's part of it. I'm glad you touched on that, Torraine, because there's somebody that follows the show that I've talked to, and they talked about they don't have the resources to get the right mental health, resources that they need. And for me,
it's a real thing.
It's a real thing. And I'll tell people in a minute, I'm privileged. I'm lucky. I make enough money to where I can get. I have a black woman that's a therapist. She's not my therapist anymore, but I went to therapy for 3 years because of the things I went through in my life. You know what I'm saying? I've seen everything. I've been through the gang banging. I've been through the dope game. I've been through all kind of crazy stuff. And I didn't know I had a problem until someone brought it up to me like, hey, yo, man, you kind of on edge all the time. It's something that my grandmother told me when I was a kid. You never want to be somebody that can't be told anything. So one of the things that I did was I shut the hell up and I listened, because I know the people that cared about me, they had my best interests. And they knew whether it was my daughter, whether it was my mama, my brother, they all had my best interest. And they was like, hey, bro, you need to get something's wrong. Something's going on. And I had to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? And I'm always an advocate talking about mental health and talking about therapy, because I know what it looks like when you don't have it. I got partners in the street that have never been to therapy. They're covering up with alcohol, weed, coke, all kinds of stuff. You know what I'm saying? Because they don't have the resources, or they don't know how to look for these things, or it's the old myth. Oh, if you don't want to go talk to nobody about your business, man, you don't talk to them crazy people, or you know all that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying? So that's a conundrum that a lot of these people are in, because a lot of these people, whether people want to believe it or not, they don't make a lot of money. They on Twitter all day. They don't make a lot of money, or they're not working. I mean, I'm just keeping it real. These people don't work. You know what I'm saying? Or they have an issue trying to get a job and getting where they need to fit into. And they're just, whether it's some low paying nonprofit job or something like that, and they just don't have the resources. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not saying they broke. They is broke, but there's a reason why they're broke, and they don't have those resources. Yeah,
or no insurance.
No insurance. And like I came up with the slogan, they chose Twitter over therapy. We get a T-shirt that says it.
Yeah, but you know what?
It's inmates running the asylum. That's Twitter.
I'll say this. Trying to get therapy through Twitter would actually not be a bad thing if they had people who were actually qualified who could help them out. But the people they're listening to, but here's the thing, the people they're listening to are people who are just as jacked up as they are, if not worse. And I'm not going to say any names, but it's the people with really big platforms who have serious issues with men, who have serious issues with their families and with women. And they have a lot of impressionable young girls and young boys who are on this platform who go to these people looking for guidance, and they're going to guide you right into the ditch along with them. I mean, you look, how many meltdowns have we seen from people with blue checks who consider themselves to be, who consider themselves to be pro-black woman, or they've got jobs in media or whatever, but they're train wrecks. You know what I mean? And that's or they're opportunists, which is even worse. You know what I mean? I want to say this. There's a lot of people who spit this rhetoric who really don't believe what they say. I'm saying that because, look, people forget I'm actually a journalist. I'm a member of the NABJ. I go to the conferences and I talk to people. A lot of these people are just saying this because it's hot right now. They don't even believe this stuff. It's a way to get a check. It's a way to get a book deal. There's people out here right now who've gotten book deals off this stuff who I know for a fact don't believe this, but they're saying it. It's like, it's no worse than it's the new prosperity gospel. It's like having a mega church.
I want to say something real quick about the NABJ. I noticed the current, I think she's the current president, NABJ, tweeted support for you, which I thought was major because the NABJ is like a breeding ground for a lot of these types. And I thought that it was kind of ingrained in the NABJ to kind of have this kind of ideologies. I thought it was a very heartening sign that the current president of the NABJ showed open support for you, unless I misread her profile and she's not the current president. But do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I know her. I actually know her pretty well. We talked on a regular basis, and she's really a level-headed person, and she's really fair.
I was very encouraged by that.
Yeah, the NABJ as itself is not that sort of organization, but an organization is only as good as the people who come into it. Yep. And like I was saying earlier, a lot of the people who were seasoned journalists who, had the resources to be able to show up at things like that, they don't have them anymore because, believe it or not, being a journalist doesn't pay that much. And if you are trying to find other avenues, especially right now, the way the situation is with productions and things like that, it's not really lucrative and it's hard to try to hustle and put something together. But to stay on point, the NABJ as itself is a very even-handed, it's a very worthy organization. If you're a Black journalist, it does a lot of good. But the problem is the people who I talked about are going into journalism, and that's who you're seeing. You know what I mean? Those are the people who get these gigs at the people who had a problem with my tweet are the people who get gigs at these, these magazines and at these outlets. So if you're a Black journalist, you become a part of the organization. And if you're a part of the organization, you can kind of, shift the narrative however you want to. And a lot of people are afraid to speak up about it because they're afraid of getting, ostracized and that sort of thing. So that's what happens. But
yeah, it's very cliquish.
Yeah, and and getting into what we're talking about, that's what's dangerous about having this rhetoric go out freely, because if people get so comfortable that they feel like they can say things like they hate Black men, and you work for an outlet, you know what I mean, and you work for a major organization, that's extremely dangerous. But because the people who run these outlets don't know any better, they don't say anything, at least not yet.
So there's something I was going to say to piggyback on what you just said, Torraine, and this is something that I've noticed. It's like the Candace Owens thing. The white supremacists and white people that are racist, whether they're white liberal racists, I live in Portland, they're everywhere. They don't mind you being self-hating and all of those things, but there's a certain line they don't want you to cross. It's like with Candace Owens. She don't mind you doing the Larry Elder thing, saying, what about Black on Black crime and the crime statistics and unwed mothers? And that's fine. That's normal rhetoric. But when you start going to the next level, that's when those same people that you're relying on for a check is going to be like, look, nigger, we don't mind you saying a little bit, but you've gone too far. So these same people that are getting on saying we hate Black men, bullet bags and all this, because there's an end game. Whether people want to believe it or not, they can't keep doing this forever. This is not going to make money in the long run, because eventually it's going to spill out into the real world. People like my dad, people like my mother, people like my daughter, people like my sister, they don't know anything about this stuff. Yeah. If I call my dad on the phone, if I call my mama on the phone, who's almost 60 years old, and I ask her about these people we're talking about, she can be like, Kenny, why the hell are you on the internet so much? You tripping. So what's going to happen is it's not going to make it to that level. And eventually they're going to have to show and prove some real skills and not just rhetoric. I mean, Twitter can crash tomorrow. Then what?
My thought, and this might not be true. I'm not saying that this is a valid thought process. I'm just saying what I think the thought process is. So just to make clear, this is not something that I'm saying makes sense. I just think this is how they think. I think they have a lot of internalized anti-Blackness, and that starts to trickle out to Black people who don't have any type of white validation. So what they think in their mind is when they see people like your dad, your mom, my dad, your daughter, they think, well, those aren't the Black people that white people care about anyway, so they don't matter. What they think, this is what I think their plan is. Their plan is they resent Black society. Their plan is to make an end run around regular Black folk to the white folk they want to be up under. So they don't actually care about if your father, your daughter, your mother, or whatever fucks with them, because they don't fuck with they don't fuck with your father, your mother, or your daughter. You see what I'm saying? So I think you're absolutely right. I think they just don't care.
But it's such a small percentage of these people. Like, I don't think people really understand that it's a very small percentage of people that think like this and talk like this, that eventually you're going to have to come out into mainstream America and talk to my father and talk to my mother. And the shit that you saying, they're gonna look at you like, nigga, if you don't get off my porch.
Yep.
Because it's not making any sense.
This is why I think I'm sorry. I'm gonna say this real quick, and then you can talk, Torraine. This is a very quick point. This is why I think the right idea is, and Torraine, you can tell me because you're more embedded in this world. There's a small amount of slots now, and I think in addition to all the other stuff you said about Obama leaving office, I think they were counting on Hillary coming in and the gravy train continuing, just having a little bit more of a feminist bent than a racial bent. But there were a lot of slots out there, and what I think is happening right now is the type of freelance journalism musical chairs where they're circling a certain amount of chairs, and chairs keep getting pulled out, and there's less to sit on. And I think what they're banking on is, look, what Kenny's saying is right. There's a small payoff here. This is not a big part of America, but I want to be the last blue check standing. And if I can be that last blue check standing, if I can be the person at the end of the game musical chair, I'm gonna get that check. I'm gonna get the Insecure. I'm gonna get the MSNBC pundit spot or whatever. So they're kind of doing a long shot game, which I think what Kenny's saying is absolutely right. It's not practical. It may be less glamorous on paper, but they'd have a better base by connecting with the real black populace out there, which there's a ton of, but they're just trying to shoot for a handful of spots of tokenism and putting all their, and a lot of people aren't making it. A lot of people are missing the chair and falling on their ass.
I think there was actually someone who put a question up. First of all, shout out to Black Outcast Media Broadcasting. Shout out to you. But there was a question that was up there about whether or not it was better to do it for, is it better if they believe in the shit that they be saying, or if
let me see if I can find it, because that was a good question. I'll keep talking. I'm gonna try to find it.
Yeah. So BL says, question for y'all: is it worse for them to believe that and peddle that rhetoric, or for them not to believe it but put it out there for a check? I thought that was a really good question. To me, I think it's worse when they don't believe it, because because to me it's like, you're willing to sell out your people. You're willing to put your people in danger for something you don't even think is true. And you'll do it for that. You'll switch over to the other side and do it on the other side for a check too. You don't stand for anything. And that to me makes it even worse. So if you believe it, it doesn't mean that I agree. It doesn't even mean that I think you're not problematic. You're definitely probably problematic. However, at the end of the day, I can at least say, okay, they believe that. If I believed what they believe, maybe I'd be on that side, but I don't believe what they believe. This other person is just trying to get a checkup off of your belief.
Yeah, well, like I said earlier, there are a lot of people who I know for a fact get on social media, get on Twitter, and they spout this rhetoric, and I know they don't believe it, or if they do believe it, they don't believe it to the degree that they say they do on social media. It's basically an act. The way to get on right now, going to T's point, if you're a writer or if you're a content creator or you're trying to be an influencer, at some point, if you're building your brand or whatever on social media, the quickest way to come up is to get into these issues where you can blame black men, straight black men especially, and say that they are the cause of these problems. And going to your point, brother, it's true that if you can only take that so far, because if you talk about the issues that are real issues in the black community between black men and black women and non-binary black people, you can only take that so far. You can't really go any further than saying that black men are the cause of that. If you start getting into the root causes of why these things we see are the way they are and why they're so prevalent, you're not going to have a job, or there's going to be a serious issue. You know what I mean? Because look, we live in America. Whether people want to admit it or not, the root cause of most of the ills in the black community are America, but you can only play with that so far. If you start talking about how, the systemic disenfranchisement in the black community, if you talk about how black men are, lead the league in basically mass incarceration. How you talk about how black men are overwhelmingly killed by the police and have negative interactions with the police. If you start talking about that, and you start talking about the root causes of that, it's going to be a problem for the people who are signing your checks. And most of these people don't have the willpower or the courage to do that.
They definitely
and those they selling out.
I always look at it like this. Sometimes when I think we get so excited when we see black people in certain positions, but working in media, especially here in LA, I always have to say to myself, what did it take for that person to get in that position? It's never black and white.
Sometimes the off you don't know.
Yeah.
Vita. And that's what makes it even scarier. Because so LA is very interesting, right? So I'm a LA native. So my world of LA was very limited because it's pretty much South Central. That's all I knew, right? And so because I had that limited understanding, I didn't know what people meant when they said, "Oh my God, LA is so Hollywood." I didn't know what that meant. I barely knew Hollywood was in LA. So, that was a weird concept for me. When I started working in media, I started meeting all types of people. I started realizing what they meant. Like, I didn't know all the rules. You're apparently not supposed to cuss out a producer if they don't give you your check. I learned this advice. I did not know that. So that's something I would do at any other job. Where's my fucking check? Apparently, you can't do that advice. They'll get upset with you. But that's the thing. You're supposed to like kiss everybody's ass, put up with all kinds of shit. And then I always think to myself, in order for you to get into a position of power, there's so much you had to hide about who you were. Like, I couldn't be too political, even though my project that I was working on was a documentary about an organization that was fighting the LA County prison from being built. The person who was the showrunner knew nothing about politics or social issues. She didn't know shit. The reason why the director put me on the project was because I was a community activist. I knew the activists that were organizing the event, and I already had media experience. But nobody else in the project knew shit. They didn't even know the difference between a county jail and a state prison and a federal prison.
Oh my goodness.
Right. Because you didn't care about the prison industrial complex. I have been working on the pipeline, prison industrial complex, all that shit since I was 15.
A quick thing, that's not a minor difference between jail and prison and federal prison. Like that's not a minor thing for people who know.
That's and we're between Pop Warner football and NFL.
Yep.
That's wild. But like you said, these are the people who make these decisions, and that goes back to the point. If people like that are making these decisions about what content goes out, and they're making content that's supposed to speak to black people, they don't know who to listen to and who not to listen to. So the people they're going to be receptive to are the people who already have attitudes and have things that dovetail with what they already feel. If you think black men are trash, if you think black men are scum, and you think black men deserve to be shot, they're not. White people or whoever people are in those positions are not going to agree with you verbally, but they're going to give you a job, and they're going to let you do what you were doing, which goes back to the point we were talking about with all the people who are in gatekeeper roles who are like going crazy. But T, you can speak to that. You saw it.
Yeah. I was laughing earlier when you were talking, and I wasn't being rude. It was because I put this comment up before while you were talking because I agree with the point, and I didn't realize Homeboy photoshopped himself with Aaliyah.
You gotta stop, bro.
So, I love that. I'm sorry.
Everybody's got to have a dream.
Everybody's got to have a dream, man. No, I love it, man. I love it, man. And what I like is he picked the best picture. Like, she is so happy to be there, and he's just holding it down. He's chilling. Like I love that. But honestly, I love this point though, which is true. Like, they don't value you if you're not valued by white people, so they don't care. They don't care if you disapprove of them or not. And I think it goes to what Vita and Torraine were saying, is that you don't want to know what they did to get in that place, but also they don't care if you look down on them for what they did to get to that place because they're trying to get away from you.
The other thing I was just thinking is something that always trips me out. And it's those same people that write those kind of articles also write those blackness articles. Like, it's always some corny shit like 10 things black people do at a barbecue.
Yeah.
What's so interesting is those same people, you'll notice they never actually grew up around black people. And I figured this out when what was it, the Teddy Riley Babyface versus battle. Mm-hmm. And somebody who's a writer, I think she wrote for Essence or something, and she said, "Who's Teddy Riley?"
What?
Oh my God!
Wow.
And I said, "Wait a minute, you write for a Black publication? What?" Yeah. So that let me know a lot of people just be getting hired for these positions and don't actually know shit about Black people. Like that, there's that girl, she's supposed to be a comedic actress or whatever she's not funny to me, but Jessica Williams, and they had that, and that other girl,
Yeah.
they had a
I'm
show
about to get
called
up. I'll be back. No,
Oh,
It's all good.
Two Dope Queens. You never heard of that?
Yeah.
She lives in my neighborhood. Like I see her.
Well,
I see her around.
But anyway, don't tell her that. That's not nice.
Oh,
No. But I really had somebody recommended it to me because if they think, oh, you're a pro-Black woman. You love this shit.
someone recommended that to you as a pro-Black person? Because the humor's not even pro-Black. It's weird.
The person wasn't Black that recommended it. It
Oh,
it was an Asian person. But she's like in that sort of progressive space, Black progressive feminist, artsy activist space.
That still makes no sense to me. Like, to me, it still shows at the end of the day how little they actually evaluate Black things. But go on. I'll explain more later.
But this is the thing. At the time, Two Dope Queens was like the #1 podcast at one point, right?
Yeah.
So people were like thinking, oh, this is Black women, and they do all these jokes that are supposed to be like pro-Black, but like, those little progressive Comedy Central type corny jokes or whatever. And so I listened to the podcast, and I was so annoyed because the whole time it felt like they were like, we're the suburban Black people who went to go visit our cousins in the hood or something. And that was pretty much the podcast. And it's like this joke about visiting their relatives that were in the hood and how they didn't think they were Black enough. And I'm just like, so if you're around white people and you don't really fuck with the Black people who grew up around Black people, why are you holding your platform as though it's for Black women?
Because
that's who people are comfortable with. That's why they got those gigs.
And then
and also it's not really for Black women.
But when I saw the audience of their TV show and their youth online, their video podcast, the audience was majority white.
Exactly, it's not really for Black women at all. I think if you did a show and it was all Black women in the audience, they would feel like they failed. Personally,
damn,
that's what
they probably run out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's almost like the Oprah. It's like Oprah. If you look at Oprah's crowd, it's all white women. But everybody promotes her like she's this, pro-Black, all this other stuff. I was like, well, all of her crowd's white. Like, I don't understand how this works. I don't think Oprah's crowd has been Black since 1986.
It's starting to change now, though.
It probably has.
I mean,
I don't know.
She was definitely saying she's Black when Hermes was hating on her at the store. Wasn't that Hermes?
Oh, I think it was Barney's or something. I forgot what store that was. They kicked her out, told her she was stealing.
I don't know. I think it was that one. It was some other shit, I thought. She wanted a Hermes purse or something. They was acting like she couldn't afford it.
It's, you know what, man, but it's the, like I said, if there's a very specific sort of Black person who has these jobs. Like I said, it's about checking off the boxes. Like if you're a woman, if you're Black, if you look a certain way, if you speak a certain way, and if you can give us some sort of street cred for our outlet by being a Black person, whether or not other Black people identify with you or even rock with you or not, you'll pretty much be good. And you can put out any kind of garbage you want to put out. You can put out some of the most ridiculous stuff that really sounds like a white Valley girl with a tan is really what a lot of this stuff sounds like. And people will applaud it. And the people who give this stuff praise are the people who aren't connected to Black people whatsoever, whether they're other Black people or the white gatekeepers. And they don't want to be seen as like saying that, oh, I don't like this, because they don't want to get dragged or whatever. So they just go along with this stuff. And this is what you get. You get bad content with Black faces.
And it's always the same, like 5 topics, like hair, like excessive focus on hair, focus on like blurred stuff, focus on zaddy / woke bae, focus on what else? White women microaggressions. Like it's just always like the same 5 or 6 things. Oh, and blackity black. Like this forced pro-Blackness that is very melanin. Like the word melanin. As to be pro-Blackness that accentuates the word melanin too much. Like those 5 topics over and over and over again.
When everybody had those damn T-shirts and everything was melanated and all that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know, it's one of those things that used to irritate me. It's like everybody had the shirt with the black girl with the afro.
Oh yeah. Here's something good to bring up too. Gatekeepers who hate black men. I want to give a specific. Well, actually, do you guys have any examples of gatekeepers who hate black men? I feel like Torraine, you would know better than us.
Gatekeepers of what?
Gatekeepers of like media and gatekeepers of like people who have influential jobs like either media outlets or in academia. That tweet, I still have it up. I'm gonna leave it up. If you look at the quotes, there are a lot of people. It actually surprised me. A lot of people who work in mainstream media and work in academia.
Wait, do you want to put it up? Do you want to put it up on the screen? We don't have it up on our screen. If you want to.
Let me see. I'm on my laptop right now. I may not be able to pull it up.
Oh, wait a minute. I think I might have it. Let me see.
Yes, BL. Yes.
So Torraine, you're what you're saying is these are confirmed mainstream media journalists, writers, TV producers, whatever that are literally, because I don't know who these people are. You know more than we do. I don't know who they are. I don't know them by name. I don't know them by face. I just turn the TV on and watch the show.
I pulled up one that got the most grief. This woman works for Slate and she writes on a lot of black issues. And someone, Torraine put, "You can't be pro-black and hate track black men." And she said, "Watch me." And what I really hate about this one is that she deleted the tweet because
immediately
it started getting a lot of pressure, because I think things are changing now. People would kind of roast her back in the day, but not really go at her boss. But a lot of people are going at Slate, which I feel like for all the bad rep that a lot of black men have, outside of the incels and those types, most black men aren't really petty, and they'll like argue with you in your mentions, but they won't go straight for trying to get you fired. But I noticed when she put that tweet up, I think people are getting fed up with this shit. A lot of people are adding Slate and saying, "Slate, you okay with this?" And I noticed, and that goes to our theory that they only really care about what white people think, not what black people think. When they started going at Slate, she deleted it really fast. And what I hate about her deleting it is, before it was deleted, and Torraine, you might have these screen caps, there were all these likes to her Watch Me thing from all these prominent blue check people who work for PBS Newshour and all these news and media organizations, liking her tweet and even replying to her saying, "You get it, girl, you go." There was a woman who worked for the actual Democrats, the actual organization of the Democratic National Congress, who was cheering her hatred of black men. Wow. And by her deleting it, when you have the tweet up, you're able to go to the likes button and see. This is early when it only has 16 likes, but it got a lot of likes, and now we can find all the people who liked it. But yeah, that's one example. And then she gave a follow-up that I think she thought was meant to fix it, but it just made it worse. She was like, "Yeah, I see a lot of people screen cap my tweet, so I deleted it, but it was just a quip to point out how asinine I thought the original sentiment was." And it's like, the fact that you think the original sentiment is asinine is what everybody's mad about. like you didn't fix anything. So she got roasted all over again for her supposed fix. Her supposed fix just made it worse. This is the fix that she ended up trying to put out that got her re-roasted, which she says, "I know the screenshot is out there somewhere, but I deleted one of my recent tweets because it was a quip. When I hoped would have hinted at the asinine nature of the original comment," which is Torraine's comment, "that should have stayed in the drafts. But the fact that you think the original comment is something asinine that should have stayed in the drafts, the idea that you shouldn't hate straight black men, that's what people got people mad. Like you don't even understand why people are mad. So they get that you're making a joke. What they're saying is that what you're making a joke about isn't fucking funny."
Mm-hmm. That's pretty much what I was talking about. Here's my thing about that. When you have people who are prominent gatekeepers and they're influencers who work in academia and they work in media like entertainment and news and so activism, where they claim to be activists, when you have people who will go on record as saying that they hate black men or that it's okay to hate black men. How does that influence the writing about black people that these outlets work for? How does this stuff influence what they're teaching kids?
Right.
How does this stuff influence what they're putting out into the world that's going to go out into the wider world and sell this crap? You know what I mean? This is what most likely some of what you're seeing on social media and on Twitter is coming from people like this. That is extremely dangerous. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're basically parroting white supremacist propaganda, but you have 4C hair. It's dangerous. And I think that has to be addressed. And I think that has to be addressed with the people who these people work for. There needs to be a check. There needs to be some sort of conversation and some sort of accountability on that. That's very dangerous.
It's funny because yesterday, I didn't let Kenny share it, but I was on a debate, something called Braver Angels, and that I did last night, and the conversation was about cancel culture, whether or not it was infringing on freedom of speech. And one of the points that I made was that if someone makes a statement and it's out there, are we supposed to just ignore it? So, for example, if I said I hate old people, and old people, they see now, they stupid, they can't drive, do you want me working in your granny's nursing home? Probably not. It's out. It doesn't matter to me. It's like you put shit like this out there. You're letting us know what you really think and what you really feel, and we have to question whether or not you're fit to be in the position that you're in. I agree. That's dangerous. You are in a powerful position to have hold of words and have a big platform that has many eyes on it.
If you're gonna
boys and black men in danger with your little fingertips because you on there thinking that it's okay to hate black men and straight black men in particular. And
Exactly.
most of these boys, we don't know if they're straight or gay or nothing else. We don't know shit.
Well, not only that, the police don't know because they don't give a fuck.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly.
They don't care. They don't care if you gay, straight. They see you black, and this is the thing about these people. You're so dangerous that you don't understand. Your daddy might get killed. Your brother would get killed. There was a girl that was quote tweeting Torraine's tweet, and she said something raggedy, and someone pointed out that she was just talking about a family member that got killed by the cops.
Yes.
Wow.
And she wanted them to burn the city down because that person got killed. But she come back around and quote tweeted his tweet saying something crazy about black men. It's like, what?
How do you miss the irony?
People just be on the internet, and it's something I had to also learn. People just be on there tweeting and talking. They just be talking. Because I bet you a lot of those black women, not necessarily the writers and bloggers and shit, I think a lot of them be on some bullshit and be fronting, but I think a lot of people that be tweeting and shit, I don't think they really mean that shit. Most of those women be with black men.
Yeah.
They only date black men,
Yeah.
only fucking black men. But somehow they want to get on the internet and act like they hate black men. They just mad at the nigga that didn't tweet them, that didn't text them back. That's it.
Look, at the end of the day,
No, I'm being real. Like you mad at that moment. And so you getting on Twitter, these niggas, this nigga hit back. Or this nigga did whatever he did,
And Vita, I've told Vita about this. This is a personal story that I told Vita about. There's a person that I know that I used to date, and they're not that person where they'll say all black men are trash. They're not that person, but what they are is they're so unaccountable for the decision making that they've engaged in that they just will not say to themselves, "I fucked up." They will blame everybody. I just talked to this person 2 days ago. They sent me all these text messages about how when I was in their life, I wasn't shit, I was horrible, and all these kind of things. And I let them talk, you know what I'm saying? Because I don't care what you think about me, okay? But then the same person, after they stopped being around me, they went and got pregnant by a dude that got a husband, got a wife and 3 kids. So it ain't about me. It's not about me. It's about you. But you won't be accountable. It is so hard for people. And I learned this in therapy. I learned this I learned this in life. You are going to be accountable. You don't have a choice.
It's like
black, or your black ass gonna go to jail, or you're gonna end up in abject poverty, or all these things that's gonna happen when you won't be accountable.
Absolutely. And it's so much about like people not realizing that their shit's their shit, and it's not an overwhelming issue that's like the world has to somehow solve.
Right.
It's like those corny ass tweets like normalize buying condoms, without being looked at funny. And I'm like, bitch, just buy your fucking condoms. Like, what are you talking about? Like, that's your internal issue. You got to deal with that.
And who is looking at you? These people think everyone's looking at them. Nobody cares.
Right. And why does everybody have to be okay with the shit that you do? Just do what you got to do. Who gives a fuck what I got to say?
You know what? That's the world we live in now, man. It's not, you can't just live your life. It's like you got to live your life and have the world applaud at you about whatever you're doing.
Right.
You know what I mean? I don't care. Nobody cares. Go live your life. You know what I mean? And to your point, brother, about accountability, look, man, you know how bad it is and just in real life trying to get people accountable. On social media, man, look, accountability has the same effect on these people that a cross has on a vampire. These people don't want to be nowhere near nothing like that, man.
They're right. and it's bad because what you guys are talking about with these people, I don't want you around my children. If you feel like this, you know what I mean? These people are in academia. Some of them are in K through 12.
Some of them are tweeting. Some of them are teaching like young kids.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Some of them are in K through 12.
Yeah,
I don't want you around my children.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Because you're
but it ain't funny. That's real.
Yeah,
that's the thing that I really feel like the most anger towards is the people that have control of our kids' minds, and that's what that. You guys, most people know I hate school, and I have a huge vendetta against education as far as the what we get in America. And one of those things that really pisses me off is that we have these people in these positions who hold powerful positions as teachers, and your children are subjugated to whatever thoughts they have. We've seen the results of what happens when teachers have certain biases. There are a million studies on that. When I worked in Watts, I use a lot of my own anecdotal stories. Sorry for that. But when I worked in Watts, I used to run an after-school program for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and the program was specifically for kids whose parents were incarcerated, kids whose kids were in foster care, kinship care. All my kids came from the Jordan Downs Project, so the school was literally across the street. It's on Grape Street, and this is also during the time of the gang war between bounty hunters, which is at Nickerson Gardens Housing Project, and Grape Street. So they're having a middle of a gang war. It's so bad as certain days the kids were on lockdown and couldn't go outside. Like they had to be indoors the entire day and get walked to and from the bathroom. That's how dangerous it was at the time. Now these kids are dealing with poverty, their parents being incarcerated, being in foster care and kinship care, their brothers and sisters dying in gang war, all at the same time. And so these kids are, a lot more anxious. They have a lot going on. And yet you'll still see these teachers, Black women, Black men, teachers as well, yelling at these kids, going, what are you doing? And who do you think they're harsher on? They're always harsher on the Black boys. I witnessed it myself. I watched a little boy who was brilliant. He was one of those kids who was always in trouble for whatever reason. He came into my office one day. He was waiting on someone else. The person never showed up, so he wanted to draw pictures and write poems or whatever for my program. I see the stuff and I'm like, wow, this is amazing. The first line of one of his poems was, he's a second grader. The first line was, living in Watts is like living in jail. Brilliant poem. It blew my mind. I went to the teacher. I walked him back to his class because the lady he was looking for never showed up. Went back to his class, showed the teacher, and the teacher tells me, Black woman, she tells me, that's his problem. All he does is sit around, write poems, and draw pictures all day. This is a Black woman who told me this. These are the kind of people that have control of our kids' minds in these schools. That's why when people say it's okay to hate straight Black men, that is problematic because those same people with those thought processes are in your kids' schools right now.
Yeah, it's really true. Or they're at the very lowest level and the very highest levels too, because like that woman who was working for the Democrats, she's doing political outreaches and policies and stuff, and she might be getting in the ears of actual candidates, and she's there to represent us supposedly on paper.
What?
She's there to represent us supposedly on paper, like this woman. Actually, you know what? I might be able to. Oh, here we go. I'll actually find it instead of just talking about it abstractly. I found it. So this is after that woman Julia Craven from Slate deleted her thing, but she put LMAO Julia, laughing my ass off about hate Black men. And then I looked at her profile, and then she's works for like this advocacy organization called We Demand Justice, and she formerly worked for the Democratic organization. Like I clicked it, and it's the actual Democratic Party, and she's probably in all these policy rooms or social activism rooms, resenting. She probably goes in there and tells people, let me tell you something, black men get too much attention as it is, or whatever. We need to remedy it with helping black women who look like me, and yeah, I mean, these people are representatives in a lot of these white rooms, when it comes to get white resources, and are probably working against, the black community as a whole.
Yeah, I was about to say, because there's no way that you can work against black men and not work against the entire community.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
It doesn't work like that. But in their minds, they really do believe that there's going to be this utopian society where it's only going to be them, and black men are going to be like over with white men somewhere, wherever the fuck that is.
And it goes back to what I was saying about they don't really care about most black women either. So
period.
So what's going to happen is, as long as them and like 24 of their bougie black woman friends get jobs, that's pretty much all the black community outreach you need. That they all get jobs.
That's actually true.
Yeah. So
as long as the talent and tenth are taken care of, they're all right.
Yep. So all black men and 90% of black women will be left out in the cold, but that's going to be okay. That's my take on it, at least.
I mean, I don't think you're too far off. There's a lot of people who think, as long as they succeed, then all black people have succeeded. You know what I mean? We're seeing some of that now where, this whole idea of the black excellence model that says that, if you go to school, if you get a good job, keep your head down, this whole traditional American success model that's falling apart as we're watching right now, you know what I mean? And a lot of the people who fell into that, and a lot of black people who believe that, completely separated themselves from the majority of black people. And they are in completely all white enclaves, or they're in small all black enclaves, and they don't deal with anybody who's not in their circle. And a lot of these people are some of the same people, again, who go into these jobs either in politics or they go into jobs in media, and they don't have any kind of background in black experience outside of what they've read, and what they've read has already been edited and curated anyway. So what you get is a lot of articles, like the stuff we see at certain outlets that I'm not going to name, or you get like content like Vita mentioned earlier, the stuff that doesn't speak to anybody black, unless you just came here from Mars or something like that. So you get like a lot of whack content. You get like a lot of horribly researched or not researched at all articles, or you get a thing what you see on social media a lot where somebody will make up a quote that has absolutely nothing to do with anything somebody says and say Angela Davis said it or Bell Hooks said it, and you go back and read the book and it's nowhere to be found.
Yeah, that's straight up lie all the time.
That's what got me banned off Twitter last year, is when the whole bigger long thing with Harriet Tubman. And I'm a historian by trade. I said there was no such thing. There's no such thing as bigger long. What are you talking about? I got kicked off Twitter because this person I told her, I was like, no, you're lying. I said, you're lying. This person does not exist. This is ahistorical. This is presentism. What you've done is you think for the way you think today about black men, and you put it in that damn movie.
If you find a black man who looks like a cross between Rick Ross and Suge Knight walking around in 1835 talking about I want me some white hoes, I will send you $1,000. Right now, you can find me
today. I'll give you $1,000 today. But
not just the white hose part, but also like a lot of people in that scene got stuck on the talking about white hose part. But what even struck me more is fucking with white men's money, because in that scene before he talks about the white hose, he says, "I'm taking half the money, and the rest of y'all motherfuckers can split the rest." And the white men are keeping quiet. Like, fuck that. The only thing that they care about more than owning white women is their money. They like the idea that he can just shot call and take money out of these white men's pockets. Like a black man.
1835.
Yeah, 1835. A free black man.
And don't forget, he was going to Atlanta.
Yeah, that too. That's more presentism.
Yeah, he was going to Atlanta.
Because in their mind, he was going to go to antebellum Magic City. If they had a scene of where he went in Atlanta, it would have been an antebellum Magic City. You know what I mean?
The only place that could happen was New Orleans. That's it. That's the closest you could have got to something like that.
That's it. Historically, that's it. But this is something that Carter G. Woodson talked about in Miseducation of the Negro. You know what I'm saying? Like these people go into college with a black mind and they come out with something else. And this is what this is why I love Steve Coakley. I love Steve Coakley because he talked about these talented 10th Negroes. At the end of the day, and I'll always preface by saying, because we got a person here that's Greek, I ain't gonna say who it is, Vita. I always say that all these people are not the same. I know some brothers that's in Greek fraternities that's down, you know what I'm saying, and out here in Portland, they down, you know what I'm saying. But there's a lot of them that are that striver culture, that striver environment where they really do want to get to a certain space where there ain't no black people. They don't want to be around any. It was like the brother he's a social activist and he was in the Hamptons a couple days ago.
Oh God, yeah, I saw that.
I mean, like, what did you expect?
I didn't see this. Can you guys share it with me? I didn't see this.
I don't have the tweet, but me and Vita was talking about it.
Oh my God, we died laughing at that shit.
This brother was in the Hamptons, and I guess he was trying to have a conversation with somebody else that invited him there, and I guess some Jewish white woman just started tearing his ass up, cussing him out. And next you know, he was yelling at her, and this is in a room full of white folks. And it's like, but what you really wanted was your plan was to go to the Hamptons, selfie it up, come back to Twitter, all bougied up, talking trash, looking down on us common folk. But it didn't go that way. So you tried to use your little social media enclave of people to come and say, "I'm sorry this happened to you." You know what I'm saying? Like it's one or the other. Either way, or they find a way to center themselves in these different things, in these different spaces.
And play the victim. And play the victim. That's the point that irritated me. I was just like, okay, if you know, like the way the story should have went, in my opinion, it should have been like, I fucked up and hung out with way too many white people. Why the fuck did I even fuck? That's what to me would have made more sense. To get on that shit, talking about this motherfucker said he was hurt. I was like, what? You were hurt? What? That's when I tweeted. I said, you can't kick it with white people, expect them not to white. It's inevitable. It will happen.
It's inevitable. Look,
you can't.
I've seen it out here in Portland. I've been in spaces where it's a party. This is when I was in high school. It's a party. I play sports, so if you play football or baseball specifically, gonna be a lot of white boys showing up. Mm-hmm. So you go to these parties and everybody cool till they start drinking. And all of a sudden, nigger, somebody gets called a nigger and it turns into something different.
Oh, see?
Nearly full of tacky, trashy, terroristic.
Yeah, it becomes very toxic when the alcohol gets consumed around these white dudes.
I feel like if you go to hang, like the few times that I've had to be around white people like that, I already knew what to expect. Like there was nothing that was going to surprise me. I already know they're racist. So I don't go into any situation with white people and think, oh, these might be the good white people. That never happens to me. I'm from LA. We got the best undercover racists you could think of.
Man.
And I was a nanny with one of these women, and they're fucking nuts. And the thing is, when I saw how they operate, how they think, they come out there and they're so liberal, and we just love people of color. One lady, I was doing a panel discussion. This lady got up talking about, I just get so angry at racism. Literally is what she said. She's like crying and shit. I'm just like, really? Oh, but then at the end of the panel discussion, she got mad at me because I said the public school system is the worst place for a black child. And she started getting mad at me when I said that. She didn't want to hear me say that. And all I was doing, honestly, was repeating Carter G. Woodson's book. It was Education of the Negro. Right. And the event was for Black History Month. So I thought it was appropriate. She didn't.
It's very interesting because here in Portland, people don't understand, like the Portland that you guys know today didn't exist 25 years ago. There's a lot of black people here.
And you tell me that all the time.
A lot of black people here in Portland. It's like Seattle. Up in Seattle, used to be a lot of black people. You seen those old certain Mix-a-Lot videos? That was old Seattle in the late 80s, early 90s. That's what Seattle looked like. A lot of black folks. Gentrification ripped Portland and Seattle up so bad. There's a running joke in Portland where we say they replaced black people with Black Lives Matter signs. And that's exactly what they did. Because same white liberals are racist than a motherfucker.
Absolutely.
And it's when you get on topics like what you just said, Vita, when you're talking about education, when you're talking about tangible things for black people, tangible things that are harming black people, then they want to get on this. Can't we all just get along? Or that's reverse racism.
You're being divisive.
Yeah. That's Portland.
No,
that's LA.
I want to put something up real quick. I found this thing that I thought was a great example, because one of the things that I want to keep the focus on, which we have been keeping the focus on this, is that these aren't just all like random weirdos. This like trickles all the way up to like respected spheres. But we were talking about the bigger long thing and putting bigger long into Harriet, and what was really disturbing was they got a lot of blue check academics whose specialty is academia, it was especially history and Black studies, and who have written books on these topics, to come on stage and lie. So the movie studio, they have this weird thing they do now. The movie studio will organize a fake academic, I put academic square quotes, panel where they get one or two professors who write about this stuff to come on the panel alongside directors and actors and co-sign like blatant lies, like the selling out goes like the very top. And look at this. This is a professor called Dana Ramey Barry, and somebody even interrupted one of her speeches. There was like a person in the crowd who came out and yelled at her for saying this is all fake. Why did you do this? And she was like, well, what about Clarence Thomas? And what about all these Black men who do all this stuff? And it's like, what the hell does that have to do with history? Like
presentism.
You as a historian even bring that up, but tell me if you can hear this.
Offensive remark he made toward Black Americans.
That's right. So look, they called out the person right here.
Offensive remark he made toward Black Americans.
That's right.
So my question, one, is, were you aware of that, and why did you cast her after that? And B, why was it okay for you to include a Black character named Dear Long, who he doesn't even really talk like it's 1848. He sounds like somebody from Fifth Ward in Houston, where I'm from, or Columbia Drive, where I used to live in Atlanta. So, and then, so why was it okay to include that? You know, people take liberties with historical facts. I know, like the Patriot and Glory, some things may not have happened, but they're not using those to offend Black people, specifically Black men.
So he asked two questions. He said that Cynthia Erivo has long been known for saying anti-Black stuff toward Black Americans, and also why is it okay, to co-sign Big or Long and have historians spreading this lie? And here's her answer.
Yes, you gave me 2 questions. So the first one, as I said, we cast Cynthia Erivo because she's absolutely the best person in the world. The casting is subjective. So I'm making a movie. So
this is the producer of the movie, but the academic is next to her.
I can't hear it.
Oh, you can't hear it? You can't hear it at all, or it's just too low?
It's too low. Can you tell us what she says? Can you summarize it?
Okay. She's saying people grow, people learn. She was the best one for the role. This is a director. I'll just say what happens next, since it's not loud enough, and it's at the loudest that I can make it, so I can't make it any louder for you guys. Then the other lady, who's the historian, takes over, and she's the one who ends up. So that woman is like kind of the producer, the maker of the movie. Then someone else comes on and says, "Yo, what about Clarence Thomas? This is a historian. What about all these people who terrorize Black people all the time? Black men do this and that." So the historian got even worse with it, and she's a pretty respected historian too. Like Dana Ramey Barry, I think is her name, and she's written books on these topics and the whole nine. And there was another historian on that panel too. They brought out 2 professors, but it just kind of what you guys were saying was making me think about how it's not just uneducated people or people who are learning off of tweets. We have actual academics who write books on this. It's okay to bash straight Black men, like they're expendable in the public sphere. on their
people,
bandwagon.
And there are people that are not they're not well versed in history to be able to combat it. So they don't know the idea of presentism, thinking that you can't think for the way you do today for people that existed 250 years ago. You can't even think for the way you do today for people that existed 50 years ago. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So for you to throw in Bigger Long and to then bring up Clarence Thomas, that's apples and fucking oranges.
Yeah, it's very weird.
It makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, exactly. It's a Floyd Mayweather deflection. Exactly what it is.
I mean, how does one have to do with the other? And the question was about historical integrity. Even, every historical movie, takes liberties with the truth and the record. But to create a character out of whole cloth and create this dude who clearly could not have possibly existed in that time period, doesn't even talk with the same sort of dialect that was available in the 1830s. This dude pulls up like I'm expecting. He comes up, man. I'm looking for Big Meech for BMF to start playing, man. It's just ridiculous. People didn't move like that in that time. Even if you were a black slave catcher, because there were black slave catchers, I assure they did not behave like that. I promise you that.
No, they did not. They did not. They were still at the behest of white men.
Yeah, they weren't shot callers who were taking the money of like the few that people were able to find were people who were kind of forced into it by white men. They were like low on the totem pole, like or they were just like traders. Like those one trader who just did it for some money. But Bigger Long was actually like a freelance maverick entrepreneur type. He's like the Master P of slave catching. He just had his own brand. He was able to call shots, tell the white people how much money they were going to get.
Yeah, exactly. And the thing about it is, man, and we've done plenty of podcasts about history. When you really understand history and the vileness and the violence and some of the most heinous stuff I've ever read existed during colonial and antebellum slavery. So when you take this subject and pretty much turn it into a caricature just to make yourself feel better about yourself, you're a horrible person.
But the problem
you are spitting in the face of the people that existed back then.
The problem to me too is, who do we have in our corner? Because I feel like back in the days we used to have black professors and professionals and stuff who kind of were there in these spaces to protect us. But now it's like they have whole staffs, like the whole Rutgers, all the black women in Rutgers, including the Professor Crunk lady and all these people, they were all behind and championing the Harriet movie. You have all these people in these rooms where this stuff is being said, like these writing rooms, not only going along with the fuckery, but egging it on. Like Kenny always has the example of the kind of sellout who goes so far that even white people are like, "Hey, we didn't ask you for all that." like you're going a little overboard.
Well,
like
about
history. Go ahead,
Vita. Go ahead.
Also, but what really bothers me the most, though, is the fact that we're taking very real historical times, historical people, legendary black women, and taking that to be something to be pitted against our men with. And that really bothers me. And it's not just the Harriet movie. They did the same thing with the miniseries that LeBron James's production company put out about Madam
Walker.
Oh yeah,
They shitted on her and another black woman in the process of shitting on black men in that story, making up all these extra things that didn't happen, making her husband like the most abusive man on earth, and that wasn't necessarily the story. I mean, in fact, almost all the black men in that movie were pretty terrible, except for the one guy who was kind of a sucker,
Did it throw in a sexy white guy? Because that's another thing that bothered me about the Harriet movie.
Was it lesbian scene though? The girl
so they put lesbian scene.
that she wasn't, the person in real life wasn't a lesbian.
Okay.
That was the only thing, but there was no white. I don't think there was a white guy from what I remember. But it was, but they added in the whole dark skin, light skin thing, which wasn't an issue in these two women's story. Then they shitted on another black woman, Annie Turnbull Malone. But even out of all that, what bothers me is that with Harriet and with that miniseries and other things that I've seen, I feel like there's this movement to uplift black women at the expense of black men. And that doesn't work. Like I've always said, and I said it's my pinned tweet, You can't, it doesn't work without the other. You can't uplift Black women and put down Black men and think that's going to be progress. It doesn't work that way, because you're not free if your son's not free. That's just the reality of it.
And my big pet peeve, this has happened to you too, Vita. But I hate when you say something like that, like what you just said. You can't uplift Black women without uplifting Black men. And if someone says, well, the opposite is also true, you can't uplift Black women can't uplift Black men without uplifting Black women. And it's like, okay, who said the opposite wasn't true? Like,
nobody.
Why are you all lives mattering this thing all the time? Like it's okay to just say something nice about Black men without having to remember the guy getting into a big argument about you you didn't make it explicit that something was both sides. And they kept going on, and we were all in his ass saying, why does she have to make explicit, like why are you reading an insult against? I mean, I think that one was the opposite. I think that one was a Black guy who felt like you were not going in on Black women enough, and he felt that you needed to explicitly call out Black women in your tweet as well.
Yeah, it was weird because I remember that, and I remember thinking like I thought what I said was pretty clear, that it wasn't gender specific. Like, clearly this could apply either way. But people do that. They just start adding extras in. Because what happens is if you don't say what they think you should say, they're gonna add in what they think you're saying.
Yeah.
So they start making up shit. It's this thing that people do that really irritates. It's like one of my biggest pet peeves, and I say it all the time. I hate when people take what I said and say I said something different than what I said, or respond as though I said something I never said, like the veterans tweet. I never said you were pitiful if you were a veteran or if you enlisted. None of that. I was specifically talking about the meme that said that, despite being Jim Crow and, being slaves, and we still fought for this country. Yay. And I was like that. I said that bragging of that shit was pitiful. But somehow I started getting attacked by these weirdos who thought I was saying vets were bad, or I don't know. It was.
What I love is that woman who pulled a Karen and tweeted at the Champagne Shark Show account. Like, do you okay this? Like we're gonna fire you. Like, Vita, you gotta go. I
was like, what is that gonna do?
They tagged her like 3 times.
Yeah. She was trying to talk to the manager, and then one person said, "Oh, I guess you're shucking and jiving like a champagne shark and stuff." And I was like, we should make a show called Champagne Shucks, just like
Champagne Shucks.
Yeah, just the shucking and jiving sharks. I was dying. Yeah, but someone got mad at Vita for being anti military and took it to a whole different level and was trying to talk to the manager, which is like us. It's like Vita's like a grown woman. Like what do you want us to do?
I'm pretty sure when I check my analytics over the month, I'm going to have a bunch of emails, people trying to complain to me to the site that I own and stuff. It's going to be.
Oh yeah. They're gonna try to get you a job just to get you fired from it. They're gonna be mad that you own your own thing.
But the chat room is funny. Isaac said, "Vita, have a seat. We have to talk about your latest tweet."
Lord,
this is the last tweet I had to mention, and then I'll let you guys bring up any last things on your mind, because I think we pretty much covered the topic pretty thoroughly. But there were a lot of subtweets that to me were specifically aimed at Torraine. Like, people were kind of in their feelings, so even if they didn't tweet him like the day after, people were just bringing this stuff up. And this is I thought a perfect example of throwing extras on it. Someone says first off, this woman, she's in the UK. She hosts Channel 4's How Not to Be Racist. She puts struggling writer, British Vogue, Soho House, Complex UK. And like, first off, y'all are just happy when a white lady puts Bantu
jobs anyway. Shit, you got wearing too many fucking hats.
Wearing too many hats. But I mean, y'all over there are caping for a white woman with Bantu knots. So don't talk to me about who gets to lead the revolution.
You talking about Adele?
Yeah, Adele. like they were getting butthurt over people coming for Adele, and they were acting like she came down from the heavens to grace them with her presence. That was really a weird look that they had going on. But it's like they kind of telling themselves, this is this perfect example of projection. Like they view activism or social justice work as a way to be at the top of something, as a way to lead, as a way to be seen and centered and made the authority. So, and you can see by how quick they are to accuse other people of that, because nothing about what Torraine said had anything to do but leading. There's nothing about straight black men that want you need to lead a revolution. Or, first off, you're not gonna do a revolution. You're not gonna shoot a gun. You work for 12 white corporations. You're not doing any.
Yeah, what revolution are they even talking about? Revolution. What revolution? What revolution are you a part of? What you been doing? Fighting for
cops.
Complex, racist ass Vogue. But you out here talking about you a part of some revolution. What are you talking about?
The hiring revolution, where they get hired over like everyone that they don't like. That's the only revolution they had, you know. And then people are putting
somebody got to dance on the murals.
Yeah, exactly. And if someone responded to her, they will sell us out so damn fast. And it's like, where's all this extra shit come from?
You out right now. They will while she is.
You say where she is? They will. No,
I said that tweet is said they will sell us out so damn fast. And I'm saying that she's saying that straight men will sell us out. Meanwhile, she's a writer selling y'all out.
Yeah, exactly. That tweet is selling people out. You know what I mean? Like,
right. That's my point.
Yeah, you're absolutely right.
While she's doing it right now.
Yeah. So I mean, that was the last one I wanted to put up. But if anybody has any final thoughts, this was pretty productive. But I feel like this went on longer. I can't believe it's only like 2 hours. We got a lot of information up going in.
Yeah, it was the easy 2 hours, man. I went by really quick.
Yeah. I don't want to blow up Vita's spot, but she's doing it up tonight. She's having a good time tonight. So
Vita got a date. You going to Roscoe's on Pico?
Why you put my business out there?
See, I was being vague. He got specific. I was trying to leave it.
Because you're family. That's just the way it's gotta be sometimes.
Oh my God.
I'm joking.
I know, but you don't know who's watching this.
Is he watching? He can donate.
You know what? I'm gonna put all the business out there. She's out there with a thug. This dude just got out of prison.
he's fresh and wholesome.
For people who know the inside joke, the incels have become obsessed with Vita as a thug lover. That's my favorite. That's my favorite new narrative.
It was it yesterday? The incels were mad at me yesterday. Today was the vets. Yesterday it was yesterday. When the Ferrari person was attacking me because I said something about gamers needing therapy.
Oh,
yeah. You knew what you was doing with that one, though.
Yeah.
You already know.
Oh, man.
Look, man.
There goes that Champagne Sharks OnlyFans. First of all, Vita wasn't going to be on nobody's OnlyFans. You can get that out your head anyway.
You could have done one of those fake OnlyFans where, like that white actress who had an OnlyFans where there's like nothing on it. You could have done that. You could have done OnlyFans and then read books on the OnlyFans, like
No, I would do something like that. You couldn't pay me to read the book.
She made like $2 million, 47 minutes or something.
Ridiculous. Broke the site.
Yeah.
Torraine, do you have anything you want to plug before we go?
Yeah, I'm getting ready to start up a new production of the Wednesday Wisdom series that I was doing before all the stuff hit. And I'm also working. I got a couple things that are in the works that I'm in talks about getting started, and I'm also working on putting out a book. But I'm going to keep that under wraps right now. But it's coming.
Okay, and go to Google Context Media and Torraine's name. You'll find out everywhere to follow him, the site, social medias, and all that. Also, if you enjoyed the stream tonight, you feel like we dropped a lot of knowledge, don't be shy about hitting up the super chat. By all means, hit up the super chat if you're enjoying the stream. We always appreciate that. Thanks to everyone who donated tonight. And also, most importantly, if you don't have any bread you want to break or whatever, it's all good. It's a recession going on. Commenting, liking, subscribing, and sharing is always free. So if you're up in here, we had over 100 people in here tonight. There's no reason why we can't have 100 likes. Help us with the algorithm. That's always appreciated as well. And thanks everybody for joining us tonight. And thanks y'all for doing this. It's Friday night. You could have been doing something else. Vita is doing something else. So yeah, everybody. Thanks.
All right, thanks a lot, man.
All
See
right.
y'all later. Peace.
All right,
Y'all be
peace.
good.